All right, there we go. There we go. We back at it. All right, I guess we started. So, welcome to another edition of Jen's Sports Corner. Back at you for 10/15/2020. Man, it's a big night tonight. TV's about to go on in another, I don't know, 30 minutes or so as I get ready for this fight night. Lomachenko versus Lopez. Vasily the Matrix Nomaschenko, whatever you want to call him. Mr. Lomachenko going against Teo power in both hands, knock their soul out their body. Lopez, man, it's a big fight tonight. All four belts on the line at 130. WBC, the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF all on the line. Whoever wins tonight, regardless of record, is undisputed champion. Look, you don't get this opportunity many times in a decade, let alone a century. Especially the way that boxing is nowadays, you can barely get guys to fight each other anyways. You're gonna have a chance to see a guy get all four belts. That's something big. The last person that did it was Bud Crawford at 140, I believe. He did that about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Bud Crawford won all four belts when he beat, I believe it was Victor Postol for the last belt. So look, this is a shot to be the undisputed champ. I'm hyped about this fight, so I'm gonna go into my breakdown for this. I actually came on a little bit later than I wanted to because I wanted to sit back and really go through the tail of the tape with both of these guys. Look at how they. I obviously have seen Lomachenko, but I haven't seen a lot of Teofimo Lopez, and I wanted to really go through his footage and see how he is as a fighter, his strength, his weaknesses, and see what he's bringing to the table. So without further ado, let's get into it, man. Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez tonight, ESPN, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's free. So, hey, this is one of the few times we get a not just a top-notch fight, but a fight for all four belts for free. It's not even on pay-per-view, so check it out, 10 o'clock. Um, Hey, we got Vasily Lomachenko, 5'7", 65.5-inch reach, weighed in at 135. Yeah, weighed in at 135 tonight. So he made weight against Teofimo Lopez, who's 5'8", has a 68.5-inch reach, and he also weighed in at 135. But he's definitely going to be coming in heavier at fight night, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. He's definitely the bigger guy, so that's going to play into the narrative. But both of them came in, they looked ready. I saw the weigh-in, and boy, did it get heated real quick, man. It went from 0 to 100 degrees. Forget that, it went from 0 to 1,000 degrees in 2 seconds. Because once that weigh-in was over, and they stepped into their little designated area for the face-off, it went from them practicing social distancing, uh, things set into place to Loma just stepping into that box and going right up in Teo's face, and he didn't even say anything. I don't know if he would really be able to talk that much trash in English anyway, but he just stepped up into his face and just had this expression of just I know I'm about to break you. He had that type of like confident, almost like a smirk on his face. He had like a confident smirk on his face and just looked at him like, you don't even know what's about to happen to you, dog. And on the other end, got to give it to him, Teofimo didn't look phased at all. It looked like two killers staring into each other's eyes during that face-off. Teo came in there like, oh, word? That's what you think you're going to do? And just eyed him, stared him down. And it got so intense so quick. After all the build-up through the training camps and the whole film showing both of them in their camps, and the trash talk being said from the Lopez side and the back and forth and whatnot. And you didn't really hear a whole lot coming out of Vasily's side. You heard them say, well, why are they talking like that? They're going to find out this and that and the third. But they didn't really talk that much trash. But when it came time for that face-off, it got so real, so fast. You know it's about to be lit tonight. I'm telling you. And Vasily, like, he has dropped some of his opponents at 135, but he hasn't been known for like that one hitter quitter KO power, even at the lower weights. but I have a feeling he's going to come in and he's going to want to try to dog this dude out. And Teo, conversely, is going to want to come in and try to knock him into the third row like he does with every other opponent he's faced in the last 6 fights. So I think this is going to be a really, really rough fight, and I don't know if this is going to go all 12, honestly. And if it does go 12, it's going to be a brutal fight. But let's get into it. First off, let's look at Mr. Lomachenko and what we know about him. Vasily Lomachenko, um, just phenomenal amateur record. I think, almost 400 fights as an amateur. Only 2 losses, and those losses he, yeah, well, I think maybe only 1 loss, and he avenged that loss. He either had 1 or 2 losses, and regardless of how many he had, he avenged his loss or losses, and even in the in the pros, he's 14-1 with 10 knockouts, and the 1 loss was to Orlando Salido way back when at it might have been like 120 or 126, and Salido. It was a good fight, but Salido fought dirty. He had a couple of low blows in there. Really tried to rough him up and make it a dirty, nasty, slobber knocker type of fight. And even with that being said, Lomachenko still almost won that fight. And if they would have rematched, he would have completely destroyed that dude Salido. And you're talking about a guy who was bigger. I think he might have even missed weight, came in extra heavy and fought dirty. But that's his only loss. And you're talking about a guy who's just a straight up cerebral assassin in that ring. When he comes in, he doesn't just beat people; he breaks them down, and he demoralizes them to the point that he's earned the moniker No Moschenko because he's made like 3 or 4 guys quit in the ring. Some, I forgot the Jamaican guy's name. He fought a couple years ago. We're talking mad trash. He finally got the fight, and then he made him quit in like the 7th round. And it was just crazy because he not only did he demoralize the guy, but he was just dancing circles around a guy who has the longer reach, you know, the taller guy, and he's changing angles, he's moving into their blind spots, and he's just punishing people. And he's fast, he's quick with it. Not only is he physically fast with his jab and his punches, but he's mentally 3 or 4 steps ahead. And multiple opponents have actually stated this. Even a recent fight he had with Croya, about 2 fights ago at 135, and he knocked him out in the I don't know, the fourth round, and it was a brutal stoppage. He knocked him down once, and he thought the fight was over. It might have been even earlier than the 4th round, but he knocked him down once, thought the fight was over. He was able to get up, beat the count, and then came out the very next round, and he caught Crolla with a really hard right hook to the left temple, and he went down in a heap. And he even was in an interview talking about it, and he said, when I got punched, it wasn't like it was a one punch like flash KO type of power, but it's the closest thing I could explain to feeling like what I would think it's like to get tased. That was his description of it. He was like, I knew what was going on. I had my faculties about me, but I just couldn't stand up. I knew if I would have tried to stand up, I wasn't going to beat the count. And he didn't know how to explain it. And he was very, very cool guy, man, to be able to talk about a loss like that. But that just goes to show you. And he also mentioned that he switches up his power and his punches very well. One punch will be 100%. Next punch might be 80%. Might take a little steam off of it. Then 100%, and then drop it back down to 60. So it's not necessarily that he is a puncher that's going to be able to knock you out, has that knockout power like a Teofimo Lopez does. But he's able to vary it up so you don't know how much of the power you're going to get from shot to shot. And that's, honestly, sometimes that's more disconcerting than anything else because you're thinking he hit you with a hard shot that he lightens up off it, and then you're like, okay, I can take this punch. And then you open yourself up to try to land one of yours thinking you're safe, and then he comes and hits you with a shot full power, and it's like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. Those are the little things that really separate the good fighters from the great fighters. And that's something that he does a lot. And I think it served him well as a smaller guy moving up to fight these bigger guys, like Teofimo tonight or Luke Campbell in his last fight. He got a little bit I would say, stung against Campbell, but he hurt Campbell, who's a really big guy, 5'9", really big dude, former gold medalist. So he can get in there with the best of them, even with guys that are bigger than him. Similar to the way Pacquiao did against Margarito. Now these guys are more skilled than Antonio Margarito, but you get the parallel that I'm trying to make. So you're talking about a guy that's extremely skilled to the point he's been able to move up, I think, a little bit past his natural weight and still been able to dominate. Even though he's not knocking guys out, he's been able to dominate guys. So those are the things you see out of Lomachenko. The footwork, obviously, he's phenomenal with the footwork and the head movement. And in my opinion, between him and Terrence Crawford, they're the two best pound for pound guys in boxing, in my opinion. If you guys think differently, you can leave it in the comments. But that's who I think personally are the two top pound for pound guys, because they just bring so many variables that you just don't find in other fighters, and you really have to surprise them. You can't just come in throwing a punch. You got to trick them. You got to feint. You got to do something that's going to make them make those small mistakes that are going to give you that window to be able to get them up out of there. I think Teo has the skill set to do it, but I'm going to talk about his skill set. You can let me know what you guys think about it. By the way, what's going on, Mark? Thanks for tuning in, man. Just talking boxing, strictly boxing tonight. Check out the fight, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. ESPN is free, so you might as well. Ain't nothing else going on tonight, and that's the place to be. 4 belts. Check it in. But yeah, on to Teofimo now. You're talking about a guy who is 15-0, 12 knockouts, and a lot of those knockouts are in a vicious, devastating fashion. Some of the most brutal knockouts that I've seen. And I'm even throwing that in there with guys like Mike Tyson and George Foreman, and guys like that. So when I say that, I'm not saying that lightly. He just had his last 6 fights have all been by knockout, if I'm correct. And he had 2 knockouts that I was just looking at. So one against Mason Menard, that was in the first round. That was brutal. He just broke the guy down so fast. And it's not just like he's a gunslinger. He's very calculated in the way he throws his shots. Just think of Danny Garcia with more power and the ability to fight coming forward a little bit. He's not just a counter puncher, which he's very good at counter punching, but he also has the mindset where he can come forward and bring the fight to you, and not in a disjointed, discombobulated way. No, he comes forward with very well-placed, calculated shots and breaks you down. He did that against Mason Menard. He did that against Magdaleno, 7th-round KO. He could completely destroy that guy. And you look at these guys' records. They had good records, and he just blew them out the water. Now, whether you think that they had records where they fought great fighters, whether they were padded records, makes no difference. He's blowing guys out the water, and it's actually very impressive. Then his last 2 fights, he had one in a title eliminator. He was the number 4 ranked IBF contender, and he fought the number 3 ranked IBF contender, Masayoshi Nakatani. And he took him to a 12-round unanimous decision, got the win, and he went on to fight Richard Comey. Comey from Ghana had just recently won the belt from a guy that was supposed to fight Lomachenko, I believe. No, I take that back. Anyways, Richard Comey had the IBF belt, and he was the opponent for Teofimo Lopez. This was last December 14, 2019, before the coronavirus was running rampant in the U.S. And he went out there, and Richard Comey, let me look at his record. He has a lot of knockouts too. So 29, he was 29-2 with 26 knockouts, completely blowing people out the water. Okay, Richard Comey has power. He has height. He has the length on his jab, the length on his right cross, and he blows people out the water. Okay, talking about 2 guys with explosive power. And first round, I'm looking at the highlights. Right, this is a 2-round fight. Right, I'm looking at the highlights. Teofimo, not only does he look sharp, but he looks like he's beating Comey to the punch. He's baiting him into certain shots, and he's beating him to the punch. And then in the second round, they're moving around, and then they both go for a straight right, and Teofimo, he lands first. And that's all you need to know, because it was lights out from there. He just completely rattled this guy's cage, and the legs were gone. He tried to get up, stumbled to the ropes, um, was able to beat the count. Ref let him try to survive the rest of the round, and Teo wouldn't let him out the doghouse, finished him off. Finito, done. Highly impressive against a top-notch opponent. A top-notch opponent. Okay, and it's crazy though that he got his opportunity to fight Lomachenko by beating a guy that nobody foresaw him even fighting in the first place. And I think let's see. No, I had that wrong. What I was about to say, but anyways, he got the chance to fight Lomachenko, the pound for pound guy at 135, by going through another guy in Comey who is really a dangerous fighter, man. He would be dangerous for Lomachenko, and Lopez was able to blow him out the water. Now, could he have lost the fight? Maybe, but I thought that he was setting the tone in the first round, and he, whether you want to call it lucky or not, um, he beat him to the punch and finished him. Highly impressive. So I really like what Teofimo was able to bring to the table in terms of his speed and power. Obviously, he has good bursts coming forward and stepping back with his feet. But more importantly, he has the boxing IQ of a guy that's 30, and he's only 23 years old, only 15 fights in. But he's had a lot of amateur fights, so that has to be taken into account. I think he's like 150-3, really good amateur. Okay, and he's coming into this fight with a lot of experience, even at a young age, and he's looked so mature in his wins, in the way he's able to finish these fights, and he's bombing these people out, not by being wildly aggressive, but it's like controlled aggression. Um, Now, is he as skilled technically as Lomachenko in terms of like the levels, the layers that he brings in terms of strategy? No, but he is very sharp up top, as well as with his hands, and he's going to bring something to Lomachenko that he hasn't seen. Now, is it going to be enough? I'm not sure, but all it takes is one punch in boxing, especially in this fight with a guy of this caliber with this type of power. Because Lomachenko, we've seen him get shaken up at 135. We haven't seen it at the earlier weight classes, excuse me, the lighter weight classes, but we have seen it at 135. We did see him get a little bit shaken up by Jorge Linares in that fight. A very spirited fight. I think he stopped Linares, if I can recall correctly, but Linares hurt him one or two times in that fight. I know he clipped him right on the top of the head with in one of those rounds, and had Lomachenko a little bit shaken. Um, didn't buzz him from what I remember, but definitely had him shaken. Pedraza, I can't remember if he hurt him or not, but I definitely know Campbell was able to sting him once or twice in that fight. So the bigger guys have been able to rattle him ever so slightly when they've been able to land shots. And Teofimo, I believe he brings more power than any of those guys, and he's sharper. And the IQ, you can argue whether his IQ is better than a guy like a Campbell or Linares, but he has the power. It's crazy. He has crazy power. All he needs to do is land that one time in the same fashion that Linares did, and it could be a completely different story for Lomachenko. So this is the way I see it. In terms of speed, I'm going to go with Lomachenko. In terms of power, it's clearly Teofimo Lopez. In terms of footwork, I'm going to give that to Vasily Lomachenko. But Lopez does have good footwork as well. In terms of counterpunching ability, I'm actually going to say that is a wash. As great of a counterpuncher as Lomachenko is, I think that Lopez is a very, very, very good counterpuncher. From at least from what my eyes tell me, there's been so many times. Excuse me. It's been so many times where I've seen a guy throw a shot at Lopez and he immediately comes back with a counterpunch and a wicked counterpunch and lands clean. And he's he's 2 steps ahead, baits he's baited these guys into throwing a punch and immediately countered back. Just high level stuff. So in terms of the counterpunching, I'm actually going to say it's a wash there. In terms of the ring IQ, I'm going to give that to Lomachenko, but Lopez still has a very high ring IQ. And then the last thing that I want to talk about here is the ring generalship. Now, again, I give that to Lomachenko, but unlike his previous opponents, he is not leaps and bounds beyond Lopez. I think Lopez very underrated in terms of his ring IQ and his ring generalship. He knows how to control the ring, set the pace, and have you fight his type of fight. And that's where the fight's going to be for me. Who's is he going to let Loma set the pace? Is he going to let him say this is how you're going to fight, this is where we're going to fight, and this is the punches you're going to be able to throw without me stinging you back, or is he going to be able to set the tone for Loma, or at least neutralize what Loma wants to do? That's the question, because we know he has the power, he has good speed, has good feet, maybe not better feet and overall punching volume ability than Loma, but he's pretty good in those areas. So it's going to come down to, is he able to feint Loma into making mistakes? When he throws that jab, is he going to be able to feint that jab, get Loma to go into slipping the jab, and then follow up with a punch, and then follow up with a combination? Like those little things, is he going to be able to do that in real time? I think that's what's going to be able to separate him from the rest of the guys and give him a chance to come out with 4 belts tonight. Will he do that? That's the question. So with those being said, I have to give the edge to Lomachenko. I know he's the heavy betting favorite. I think he's like a 4-1 favorite or 5-1 favorite in Vegas or wherever you're betting at. But that being said, I think that Lomachenko will win this fight by stoppage in the later rounds, because now this could go either way. I get it. I'm not going to equivocate on this topic. I'm going to say that Lomachenko stops him, let's say in round 8 by TKO, by a stoppage, not by a knockout, but like a TKO stoppage. But for argument's sake, I only see this fight going one of two ways. I see Loma winning by a TKO stoppage, maybe like a body shot or something like that, or a shot that Lopez just can't get up from, or maybe a stoppage from the ref, or I see Lopez knocking Lomachenko out. Those are the only two outcomes that I personally see. I think that Teofimo is too skilled of a fighter for it to go 12 rounds without him hurrying Lomachenko 1 or 2 times in the fight. I don't think he's one of those fighters who's going to be able to run circles around. So that's the way I see it. I think that Loma is going to be able to outbox him and stop him in 8 rounds. That's my official prediction. But that being said, I can see him knocking Loma out. So that's what makes this fight so intriguing to me, even though I think Loma's going to win, because this is the first fight where I can honestly say I feel as though Loma can not only lose, but lose by knockout, because this is that type of guy. Okay? So that's my thoughts on the fight. Fight is coming up in 50 minutes, man. It creeped up on me fast. I didn't even see this coming, man. This whole week has just been flying by. I've been so excited for this fight, and boom, it's upon us. I was just talking about this fight, I think, in an episode of my Sports Corner back in early September or maybe late August. I was talking about how excited I was for the what was the big fight that just happened? It was on the same night as Adesanya fought for UFC. It was a big the Charlo fights. I was excited about that for my birthday weekend, And I was like, yeah, well, Lomachenko's right around the corner, and bang, here we are. So, bang, that's crazy. That being said, like I said, that's my prediction. Loma TKO in the 8th round. Let me know what you guys think. Another big fight coming up. Um, uh, Santa Cruz versus Javante Tank Davis. The Showtime 24/7 All Access, whatever you want to call it, whatever it's called, All Access just dropped. I think last night or today, might have been today. So the first episode of that dropped. So I'm about to go check that out as soon as I stop this episode because I'm hyped for that too. And then who the hell knows what's going to happen with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury in the fall, or who Josh was going to fight next. But that's what's going on. I'm hyped for this fight, man. Look, Lomachenko, you got something on your hands, my dude. But if you guys get a chance, check out the Face Off and check out the two documentaries by Top Rank that were put out. It really gives you a lot of insight into these guys and what they were thinking going through these training camps, and the backstory behind this is just fascinating. Where man, just Lopez's dad, he is so far in left field with just the side talk that he's come at the Lomachenko camp with. And they both told their sides of the story where Lomachenko had finished beating somebody in the fight. It might have been Campbell. And Lopez's dad came up to him, I guess, in the walkway in the stadium, and he said that Lomachenko kind of like ignored him, kind of nixed him off. And he's like, "Oh, that's what he's gonna be. Oh, my son about." Or it might have been after Lopez won the fight. He was like, "Oh, my son about to break you. He gonna eat you alive." And that was the sequence of events that Loma said happened as well. Except for Loma said his father like he was drunk, and he was like, "What are you doing? Like like why are you acting like this? You're a father. Like this is not the way you should be conducting yourself." And he took that personally, like, "Okay, well, that's the way you want to bring to me. I'll show you what's up." So I just found that very fascinating. His father really reminds me of Angel Garcia, Danny Garcia's dad. Danny Garcia's dad, he very outspoken as well. Like he gonna tell you what he thinks when he's thinking it, and gonna come at your neck, even if you done nothing to him. They the type of dudes that when you fighting their sons or whenever they have, let's say if they were fighters, right? Whenever whoever they're fighting, don't matter if you said something bad to them or not, they're gonna make drama where there is no drama. Okay, they just those type of people. So I found that really fascinating. And then looking at the way the Lomachenko camp responded, Papachenko, who is also has the father-son trainer relationship with his son Vasily, um, he was more calm, calculated in his responses, and just very cerebral and cold. Like, okay, you say this, that, and the third. You can talk, but this is what we do. You will see come fight night. That was the energy that was coming out the Lomachenko camp. So the contrast between not just the two fighters, but the two fathers was truly fascinating to me. Two father-son trainer relationships. Both fathers have brought their sons to the pinnacle of the sport. They're sitting on the precipice of either one of them being an undisputed champion in the sport. And the contrast between the way both families act is just astounding to me. One guy, ultra aggressive, has been a knockout artist, 15-0, 12 knockouts. That's worked for him. The other guy, just a cerebral artist, breaking people down by just demoralizing them and making them quit. Very quiet, soft spoken, but in the ring, he talks with his hands. 14-1, legendary already. So it's like two different ways of getting to the same spot, but who is going to come out victorious? I think that's the bigger story than the actual fight itself. Like two different philosophies, and which one is going to trump the other. So just a little different angle of thinking about it. But there's going to be a lot of people that are rooting for Lomachenko that weren't before because of Lopez's father's mouth. But we'll see what goes down with that. Like I said, that's it for now. I wanted to give you guys my little breakdown on the fight coming out tonight. Tomorrow I will be on probably around 12 o'clock to give the full breakdown of the NFL slate. Breaking news earlier today, another Patriots player tested positive for COVID, so they canceled practice. So don't know what's going to happen with their games or what the case may be. I'll update you guys on that tomorrow. If you haven't, Check out Stevie Frank's new song, Killing. Just dropped the video for it today. Amazing song, amazing video, dope visuals. Me and him were both on the Unsung Talent show earlier today. Shout outs to Chrissy Morales for the merchandise and her time. It was a wonderful interview. The episode will be dropping about 2 to 3 weeks from now, so I'll keep you guys updated on that in case you missed the live stream. But yeah, and then got a lot of new music coming out. I'm working on projects with a couple different people, so I'll keep you guys updated. But we making moves here, man. The music's popping. The sportscast, we moving. Going to bring you the latest and greatest in sports news, especially Philly sports, and this boxing because it's what I do. It's what I talk about. I'm passionate about it. If you can't already tell, and we're getting a gift tonight, man. With all that's been going on this year, man, boxing has really stepped it up. We are getting a gift tonight, y'all. Whether you care about boxing or not only is it a unification bout, but it's going to be a war with two guys that are going to set it the F off. I'm telling you. You heard it from your man here, man. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you tomorrow. Peace.